Howdy, everybody out there. Welcome to Extended Rest for the month of January. I'm Jason. I'm normally the Dungeon Master, but tonight we're going to be going over the most recent crop of episodes from Dungeons and Randomness. Let's do that thing where we go around the table and introduce ourselves, starting with James.
Oh, first. It's been a while.
You are.
I'm James, and I play Masoka on Group A.
I respect your beard game.
Thank you. I just want to be like you.
I did, but don't. Karen.
Oh, hi, I'm Karen, and I play Callie on Group B.
And Robert.
Hey, I'm Rob. I played Ubo until a recent tragic vampire accident.
And
Maddie's fault.
Yeah, I was going to say the person whose fault it is,
yeah,
Susan.
Should have been last.
No, here's the thing. Here's the other thing. I saw on Facebook, I saw you, Kurt, I saw you posting. It's like, oh, we're just going to talk about Ubo. There were other things that happened. We're going to talk mostly about Ubo. What other stuff? There was a Group B episode in there. That's why Karen's here.
Yay.
Susan!
I mean, I don't know how to follow that up, but I play Madeline Riowin, the human cleric on Group A.
How does it feel to be responsible for Ubo stuff? Let's just kick things off. My new plan is to just keep hitting you till you agree to do a second book. And I'm just kind of throwing that out there, testing the waters. If that doesn't work, I'll go back to being nice. But seriously, Ubo's death, your fault. Why?
And now you know how I felt with every NPC in Malchus. It's your fault we fell into a tyrannical dystopia.
Didn't think about the consequences.
You didn't map that out for 17 years in advance.
You know that's got...
Think how boring the world would have been if Malchus hadn't acted the way he did.
Yeah. I made it what it is today.
He gave adventurers purpose.
So Ubo's death is technically Rob's fault.
Yeah. I misjudged how... I was like, well, if we were with the Countess and we didn't pick the fight. And if we could have possibly picked the fight and won it, surely this lackey vampire is like someone we can, I can fight for catharsis. It was not so.
We wanted to fight. We did. It was suicide.
Well, let's take a step
I mean,
back.
he ran. He ran. I was sitting there. I don't know how many of you were, if I said it in the episode or in the behind the scenes stuff, but I was sitting there. I was like kicking myself because I was like, I thought about Fairy Fire and I thought about more damage, and I did damage, and then he ran and he wasn't glow in the dark, so I couldn't chase him.
Dude, here's the thing. I told you this in the moment. You could do the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing.
Yeah. Hindsight 2020.
And here's the thing. We're going to talk about Trent and Clifford. We got a Group B to talk about first. Don't you dare blame Trent. And Clifford is like the top damage
Leave
dealer.
Trent alone.
Hashtag leave Trent. But let's kick things off with Group B. Let's talk, because we did record another session and that one hasn't gone up yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's been a lot of preparation on Group B, and this is just me guessing now, trying to look ahead. Do you think we'll be closing out Arc 3 with Group B and Brightport attempting to do what they're going to do?
I mean, probably not. I mean, I would love to. We should probably be smarter about the things that we're doing, which we're not. But that would be nice to actually see an end to it.
New rule too, because Rob's here. Tell Rob what Group B is doing.
Oh, we basically collected an army of Chord Paladins. Wait, hold on.
Latest episode.
Yeah.
You went to the hidden temple.
We went to the hidden temple to try to get some to talk to the followers of Vecna.
Okay.
And we are collecting people so we can go to Brightport to I guess take care of the Black Hand.
By take care of.
Coming. Long
Yeah.
time coming.
By take
Who
care of, they mean
attempted
murder.
to kill our fake mom.
Take care of it, Just deal with it.
I like it. It's a good plan.
It's
I
ballsy.
hope you don't have to deal with DRP.
That's
That's the other complication, because we never do things the straight route. We always screw it up for ourselves and make it way more layered and complicated. So on Patreon, there's a group called DRP. You may have heard of them. They've been on the main feed before. They come back every couple of years, like fucking Dracula, and they haunt the feed, and then they go away for a couple of years, and they come back. But in their recent incarnation, I think this might be the worst they've ever been. And we have some Group B players on DRP working against Group B in the long term, but they don't know that. So what kind of challenge do you think that's going to be? Let's toss out the perhaps inevitable, Group DRP, Group B mashup episode. Let's put that. How difficult is it to play on either one of those groups and knowing that you are actively dicking yourself over later on down the line? The better one group does, the worse the other does.
As Karen, who plays on DRP, it's really not hard because I'm just an asshole and I do whatever the fuck I want to do. As Karen, who plays on Group B, it's so fucking hard not to metagame any of this bullshit.
I like that multiple timelines weren't enough. We had to...
Nope. Oh, and also, Rob, we're both groups are potentially going to the same area
Oh,
to look for the
goody.
same thing.
Mhm.
A race.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, so they're racing against themselves. And James is... James is on DRP, and I gotta... Okay, do you have any trepidation about potentially dicking over Group B?
Well, I'm not in Group B.
That wasn't the question.
I shook my head no, and I was like, I know this answer, and then I stopped myself.
That sounds like a whole heaping helping and not my problem.
I mean, personally, friendship-wise, I don't want to screw up friends, but
Right.
game-wise, we always play the character.
I see. That's the right answer. Okay. In this friendship circle, I feel like that's the ripcord in the parachute. It's like, I was playing my character, but not in a dicky alignment way. In a, hey, we can't pretend, no metagaming, that stuff. And there's usually no hard feelings. I could count on one hand how many times previously, way back in the day, there was hard feelings about stuff. But
And that's kind of one of those things like you need to like take the temperature of as a group, but then like there are times where like when everybody's on the same page about what's going to happen, it can even enhance things, right? Like you don't know, or your character doesn't know that my character has secret X, but the player knows, and the player can do something like really awkwardly on the nose about it just to like twist the knife a little more or something like that. Those kind of things can be really, really fun. And they're like the drama you get in a TV show or a movie or something where it's like, oh, someone didn't know that this was a sensitive thing for me and did the exact thing that I don't want to happen.
right.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard, like, from a Group B perspective, because we do so much planning and, like, we're so meticulous about some things. And, like, from a DRP perspective, like, we're just doing a thing. And, like, I don't really have to worry about all that planning. So it's really easy for me, like, in that sense, to just, like, just do it. But, like...
So does it sometimes feel like you were building a sandcastle and then, like, every month or so you run by to knock down some of your progress?
Nah.
Okay.
It's, like, kind of fun.
Okay. So, okay. Let's talk about the elephant in the room a bit. We're going to circle back around to Group B. Don't worry. We're not done with you, Karen.
Okay.
Let's talk about Ubo. I think that it can be a tremendously hard thing to do, to leave a session in a high state of tension or emotional drama, and then walk away for 3 or 4 weeks, and then come back and try to jump right back in like you haven't missed a beat. And I feel like Group A did that for 3 months in a row, and you did a great job, because we didn't write it out ahead of time of when Ubo was going to leave or when he was going to do it. We just knew it was coming. And I almost feel like the group wanted to stall and keep that from happening. It's like, well, maybe Rob will change his mind. Rob doesn't change his mind very easily when it comes to that type of stuff. When you've decided it's the right thing to do for the character, it's...
Yeah. On the point that you said about picking up the drama with like month-long breaks in between, I honestly, when I came back to the table, I didn't have that same kind of like tension and like, I'm sure you guys heard it in me. Rob at the table was very bummed about how that vampire encounter went, to the point where I was just super frustrated. I think I like stayed up an hour after the session was over to just like cool off, like read something or that kind of thing. But then, it's cool to have these big gaps between sessions that are often like 3 weeks at a time, 4 weeks at a time, because it gives me time to cool off, collect my head, and like think about like, okay, what happened. Like, let's figure out where to go from here. And all I could think about was like, Ubo has had such a defeating chain of events, significantly by his own doing, admittedly, but that he is at the point where his desire to stop messing up and harming the people he cares about supersedes his promise to stay and try to help them. Like he had basically come to the conclusion that like, if I leave, they're likely to solve this more easily than if I stick around, And so to have then to become, in the sense of contracting vampirism, absolute anathema to everything he believed in, he was, and it was so cool that we had that conversation earlier. I think, Susan, you're the one who actually Susan brought up that we were going to go see the mountain. Who actually reminded me that Ubo had made everybody promise if anyone turned to undead that we would kill him.
Xavier.
I think that was
Xavier. Yeah, Xavier.
Yeah.
So Susan had that Ubo had promised Maddie that they would see a sunrise on the mountain together. And Xavier had, dude, like, think back. You made everyone promise to knock you off if you became undead, and said you'd do the same for them. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these pieces that we, they turned into foreshadowing that we did not at all set up, and they ended up kind of too perfect. So it was really cool that like Rob at the table was feeling like it's time for Ubo to go, and that we had that cool little nugget of history that Ubo had made everybody promise that could be fulfilled. Yeah.
I'm going to be real honest with you, Rob. Mm-hmm. After that session where we spent a half hour, 45 minutes going over, Ubo is not going to accept this. Ubo is going to let himself go. Like, me personally, but I think this was like my stage of grief for Ubo. I was upset. Yeah, like I was like, no, he cannot do that.
We're going to fix this.
Exactly. It was like there's so many solutions. The first one that said we could be best friends. Like, I was very upset, but like as the weeks went on, like that time period where we could step away and think about what our characters would want. Like, Maddie is like different from me, and she would have thought about what what Ubo would have wanted.
Mhm.
So she would have been able to catch on earlier than Susan would. Susan was angry. Not at you at this situation.
Susan yells a lot, guys. I just like don't be taken in by the bubbly tee personality thing on camera.
She hits too.
She yes, which is why we work long distance.
No, but I came to terms with it. Like Maddie would recognize this is what Ubo wants because they have been like this since like day one. And she would have been able to know he wouldn't accept this.
Mm-hmm. And almost to the point where, like I thought back on Ubo's time in the party, and I was like, wow, like if I had a regret, I would say I didn't necessarily interact with the other party members as much as I interacted with Maddie. That I kind of talked to the rest of the party through Maddie, or like always kind of checked with Maddie first before conversations extended into the party or things like that. So I think it would have been cool to see those relationships develop more. Certainly when everyone was kind of saying goodbye to Ubo, it was like Aster comes up and it's like, well, what do we talk about, right? Like we, in a lot of ways, we didn't really develop that interaction much. But also, like once the heat of the moment wore off with a couple weeks between sessions and everything, like I started looking at the opportunity to play a new character, and I've said this before in a lot of different DNR recordings. I created Ubo to play against my type and challenge me to stretch my range. And it was getting tiring, right? It like if I had to look back at it, it was really tough to sit down. And I was looking back at the Ubo tweets, right? I'd been playing him for 2.5 years on DNR. I had been go.
I was just going to say, we do have a show, and we're very much of the opinion what's canon is canon. We don't just willy-nilly introduce people. So when you roll up a character, all of us have to be prepared to play that character for the long haul, whatever that is. And it seems like just yesterday we started Arc 2, but that was over 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So it was nuts. And it was, I am, as much as I know, just the outpouring on Twitter, on Facebook, in the Discord, so on and so forth, like everybody making fan art of Ubo's final moments or telling me that they burst into tears at work or everything. Like that was exceptional and very special to have that impact on you.
Me too.
Because certainly, like, I mean, if you listen to the behind the scenes stuff, you know, of that episode, once we let Ubo go, I'm like, yeah, I cried. I cried right here, you know, while we're playing the game. Like it was, we really made it very, very momentous and meaningful. But at the same time, like I'm super looking forward to playing something that is more in my lane rather than, stretching myself was a good experiment and a good experience. Now let's never do it again. Let's get back to playing Robbie Rob things that Rob does. So I'm looking forward to that.
Talkie characters.
Talkie, yeah.
That being
it's good
said,
though.
Do you want to give people a hint as to what you and I sat down and rolled up?
Well, do we? Are we like going? I haven't been on an extended rest in a while. Apparently, do we go over the episode still like proper, or do we like?
We're just talking, man.
We just talk. Okay,
We're just
okay.
talking. I got a few questions to ask you guys about Ubo's death and how things could have went here and there, and just character reactions. But I figured that links up pretty nicely to what we were just talking about. Maybe just a clue as to what you're going to be playing.
I'm here for this.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I mean, none of you know. That's right. All the cast knows is that I sat down and I rolled my ability scores with Jason, and then I had to post those 46 drop the lowest, the stack of 46 drop the lowest rolls because they were obscene. This character does not have an ability score below a 14.
Jesus.
Oh my god!
It's big time.
I just clicked those. I made a 4d6 macro, and I was just like click, 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 and it was just like streak of
like seriously, it was like 18, 18, 17, 18, 16. And it's like, what? I'm like, it was a lot.
I want to redo.
Don't tell Michael.
Oh yeah.
He saw it. Yeah.
He's kind of a paragon of among heroes, I guess. But no, so I am playing a red dragonborn multi-class Paladin of Conquest swashbuckler rogue, which adds up real weird. But there are cool ways to make it work. And once I saw them, so some of you might have seen at some point I told Jason, like, I'm going to play either a sorcerer or a fighter sorcerer. I'm going to mix something up like that. But when I pitched my idea for that character, we came to the conclusion rather quickly that, like, Jason was like, well, we can make this work. But, like, the message he sent me before he said that was like, dragons in Theria are not like dragons in stock D&D in very important ways. They're not smart. They don't hoard wealth. They don't do all the things that you're identifying as dragon stereotypes. And I was like, well, let me stick that back in a box and save it for a campaign where it makes sense.
They're more forces of nature here. They're more like, that they're not plotting
they're just, it's like a tornado. It's like it comes in, it destroys, it eats, and it leaves. So then I started cooking over. I said, well, the thing that I was kind of like married to was like being like super intimidating. So I was looking at different ways to do that. The whole reason Paladin Rogue even came up was that I wanted the intimidation factor of having an insane intimidation stat, but also like the tankiness of a frontliner. But all the classes that get expertise are lighter weight. So I had to mix Rogue with Paladin to get my so when this character enters the game, he will have an intimidate of 13.
Oh my god.
I was about to say, it doesn't really matter if you roll 28 somehow on all your dice rolls. Like, it doesn't, like, it's fine.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's a mashup of it's Paladin 5, Paladin of Conquest 5, Swashbuckler Rogue 4, and dual wielding, no less, Warhammer and
Is that how he's going to join the group? He's just going to intimidate his way in?
He's going to yell at you until he's a part of it. That's basically it. Hello, friends, and that's it. Like
this is my group now.
Yeah,
like the JRPG pop-up messages, like so and so forced his way into the party without your consent.
Yes.
You thought he was gone, and you turn around, he's just there.
Yeah. And so the reason I just keep saying this character is because I have struggled mightily all week to give him a name, and Dragonborn names are really hard to come up with for me, apparently. So I don't have a name yet, but that's what you're getting. Paladin of that goddess's name is Alvarin, the goddess of justice.
Yeah, we know her.
Yeah.
So, Rob.
You told me to keep this brief, and I didn't. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, we're here to talk. I don't care.
You were excited.
Yeah. I love to see you excited, and I got to see it twice this month, which is rare. It's like 2 eclipses. But
I'm just even keeled. I'm not.
You're reserved.
You make me sound depressing.
No. I am excited to see what this character does, because it's going to be a wild departure from Ubo. And did you listen to the episode after Ubo was gone?
I have downloaded it. I have not yet listened to it, but it's on my phone to hear.
Okay. Well,
could have used you.
Yes. Oh my god.
Let's talk about that in just. I want to talk about that in just a second, because we got a question from Math Guy Dave, and I thought we've had a couple of people ask essentially how did Ubo go, because I thought we kind of covered it in a tasteful way, but maybe it was too vague. So, Ubo was going to die because of the virus pumping through his blood. Now, when you're bitten by a vampire, and your body can't fight off that virus, you fail your check, whatever, you're going to die. It's a death sentence. It's going to happen. So your body essentially deteriorates, and then you die, and then you reanimate.
Mm-hmm.
The group just didn't let Ubo reanimate.
Yeah, like I effectively was like, we did the sunrise thing so that I could kind of lay in the sun as I died, so that there would never be a moment where he got back up. He died of vampirism, but he never had to become a vampire, which
right.
I think is about as pure of a death as you can go as far as Ubo is concerned with that.
So this is going to be a little crass, but I like to think that Maddie knew that Ubo would go out screaming, because he's on fire.
It's not a fun way,
No, yeah, there's no easy way to go out that way. So I like to think Maddie did mercy again.
Yeah,
and
that's...
maybe staked him through the heart before he died.
Or cut his head off.
I mean, that's a little crass, Jason.
Look, okay. I look at it like this. Once Ubo's dead, it's not Ubo anymore. And it wasn't going to be Ubo when Ubo came back. So, I mean, it meant so much to him that I thought, one, it would be a little less tasteful to have this beautiful sunrise, and then you guys say goodbye, and then Ubo's group, they let him go, and then he stands up, wah! And just, he's on fire, he's running around the top of the mountain, everyone roll initiative. I thought that would be less classy, so...
Clifford jumps on his back.
Yeah.
And Ubo would have been totally on board for being staked too, right? Because he it's one thing to lay in the sun till you die. It's another thing to actually he made you guys promise. Please kill me. I don't want to be this thing.
So he'd be doubly as pissed. He would be on fire, and he's like, guys, you had one job, and then turn to ash. But so we are short an Ubo henceforth on the party. Now, getting down the mountain. Here's what happened. I'm going to explain this to the best of my ability. Now, Trent did say goodbye to the party, which I'm not understanding the hate for Trent. Trent didn't get in the way. He did a great job. He was helpful, informative, and then he left. He took his leave. He was like, hey, everybody good luck. I'm going to go see about a girl. I'm leaving.
Until you said that, I had nothing wrong with Trent.
Trent deserves love, okay?
Yeah, when we had that scene, it was fine. I was actually on his side in the divide.
Oh my god. Clifford's a divisive figure. And I would love to get everyone's thoughts in the chat in just a moment. So the group's descending the mountain, and they happened upon some really rare wildflowers that are great for healing potions, stuff like that. We're talking couple of grand's worth of rare herbs. Unfortunately, this was also right in the same area as hill giants, and the group rolled poorly. And what was it? 4 hill giants?
4.
Yes. Yeah, 4.
4. Yes.
4.
So 4 hill giants just start kicking the shit out of the party. Now, they had the option of running, but Clifford really wants to be like Masoka. And he really wants to impress. To his credit, he stabbed him some hill giants.
Let me give you some insight, just a little scene into next episode. We haven't recorded it yet, but I know.
You're just gonna pick
I know
this
the
kid up and
first thing
shake.
Masoka's gonna say to him. Yeah.
Yeah, Maddie's gonna have some words. There were some clear instructions.
And here's the thing, I understand why he's a divisive character. Kid characters, I can think of one child character that I ever liked in any piece of media. That was Clementine from The Walking Dead. That was it. That's it. Like, it was a kid character done right. Like, she develops. She's not overbearing. It's really great. Almost every other child character runs that Anakin, Phantom Menace vibe for me. It's that being said, he's 12. He's doing his best. Yeah. He's not a useless party member.
No.
But he's also not a helpful party member most of the time. It's interesting.
See, here's the thing. It's gonna be... I like Clifford. I think he's really cool and adds some depth to the character, but he also didn't follow instructions.
He did not. He did not. No. Because like every 12-year-old, he thinks he fucking knows everything.
Yes.
And what sucks is there hasn't been a moment where he's been truly proven wrong yet. Like, okay, if he ran in and he just got the crap kicked out of him and he didn't hit anything, and we call that pulling a Masoka. But like, if there was, I love you, James.
No. Masoka runs in and hits everything, slices their heads off.
You haven't heard the latest episode,
and no one gets hurt.
Doesn't ask anything in return.
The kicker to all this, Rob, is that James had the worst dice night I think I've ever seen him have. His luck ran out fully. I think,
which leads me to believe that Rob is my charm.
Yes.
And you have to be there from here forward, or I'm screwed.
Well, I hope it's me and not Ubo, because if it's Ubo, I've got bad news for you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Ubo was supportive.
In his own way.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? And this is for Group A, but I want Karen in on this too, and everybody out there. Because Ubo died, is there an extra incentive to deal with the Countess issue? Do you blame the Countess in some capacity for Ubo's death?
I feel like this isn't a me question, or I would answer.
Well, okay, how do you feel about it?
What's that?
How do you feel about it?
I mean, certainly there is a chain of causality that includes her, I guess.
That was the most diplomatic answer.
Yeah. But, like, I don't want to... It'll be... If we do end up going that route in Group A, it'll be funny to be in there and like be in her castle and everyone's killing her and everyone's like, this is for Ubo, and my character will be like, who? So yeah, it'll certainly be cathartic for Rob if we take her out, because I mean Rob didn't like her, period, in the same way that Ubo didn't like her, but yeah, it'll be weird for my character to like have no particular familiarity with this being deeply personal.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley in the chat says it was Trent's fault.
Well,
Trent is unfairly derided.
If you're gonna, bring it back, like you could say, "Oh, it's Ripley's fault because he was trying to find Trent,"
or Group B,
and then it was.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, if you want to trace it back to the source, I mean, it's probably Jamie's fault for letting Ripley get away.
You know what?
Ooh.
Oof.
I love you, Jamie. I'm sorry.
I personally don't feel like it's Trent's fault. He was being pursued. It's not his fault. He did nothing wrong, and he was being hunted. Because he didn't want to be a vampire. I think that's as noble as Ubo, honestly. Trent and Ubo right here, in nobility terms.
Is probably more noble than Ubo. Ubo. Ubo became less noble as time went on.
Trent did a lot of stuff, dude. He's
Oh, okay.
He hung out with bandits and tried to impress them.
And Bree's in the chat saying, like, well, then it's Malchus's fault for causing the war. I mean, if you want to go back all the way, like
it's Jason's fault for writing it.
It's Jason's fault for creating the universe's misery.
Yeah.
You didn't have to put vampires in there.
Yeah.
You could have.
Jason, why could you do that? Why did you do this?
They could
You
have
ever
all
think
been
about
nice.
Thanos snapping this world and saving us all the trouble, Jason?
Look,
All the heartache?
this is my third go around with a boss vampire. Let me have it. It's going well. The first two tanked hard. I've waited 8 years for this. Just let me have it.
We should have just smoked her. Like,
Oh, man. I cannot
If
wait.
I knew that if she died, all the other vampires would like drop dead or something, sure, let's do it.
yeah.
They're like, they're networked.
Thing is, I don't even think Masoka would have a problem with being a vampire. I know other people would, though. And that's probably the only thing. Because Clifford asked him if he should bite him, right? When they were hiding out there.
That's the thing. I don't think Clifford knows that that's wrong. Like, he understood.
He's 12.
Well, yeah, okay.
Depends on his parents, I guess.
Well, okay. He knows that doing it against someone's will is wrong. Like, he understood, like, on a base level why Ubo wouldn't. But, like, let's say Masoka was sick. I don't think he would see that as wrong. It's like, yeah, I got you. I got you, buddy. Like, don't worry about it. You'll be back as good as new.
Good to know.
Oh man,
I don't think he
that
would
just
think
brings
that's
up so
wrong.
many terrible possibilities.
It does. I think the listeners will be quite interested to know, is the plan to ditch Clifford? Is Clifford a permanent hanger on, or is Clifford bound for like Aubrey?
I think because of his connection to Masoka, he's part of the group.
Oh
Yeah.
my. It's a big responsibility.
Okay, but there's sort of an
Yeah.
ethical thing there. Like, he's got vampire powers, maybe, that we haven't seen yet.
You have
And
to travel at night.
he's
I know.
12.
But like,
He does
What
have the
do you-
Is
maturity
that
of a
like
12.
what's that in theory? Like, do you get married at 12? Like, what's
I mean, like, okay, I would say it's not like a 12-year-old now. Like, he's hunted and stuff like that. He's a little more okay with murder than he probably should be at 12. But I think he kind of views this as a bit of a game. Like, not a game, but like, oh, I'm an adventurer. The rules don't apply to me the same as they do. Like, that's a little worrisome.
but
I don't want to really give an opinion right now because I think our next episode will probably answer that question.
yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, I can imagine it, us leaving him behind and then him going, Masoka, don't leave me behind. And then we're all like, oh no, don't cry. And then he's just like, why are you doing this? You're the only person I've ever known to trust me. Like, would you leave that behind?
Holy shit.
Then
That got
Masoka will just hide him in his backpack.
Just feed him some, like, blood every once in a while. Just like,
Yeah.
here's like a pigeon.
Aw.
Just.
Just need one of those backpacks with like the viewing window for like cats. You know?
Like a cat carrier?
Yeah.
Karen,
What's up?
I said we weren't done with you. Druids. Shapeshifting. Let's give listeners a sneak peek. What can they look forward to? You got a new ability because you guys leveled up. You've never used it before. Level 10. Druid. That's halfway up that Group B is the furthest we've ever been in 5th edition right now. What badass shit do you break out in the next episode? Give them a sneak peek. Break them off with something.
Bad decisions.
Excellent.
Well, like really bad decisions, guys.
I'm all for this. Explain it. No.
Guys, I can fly.
Yeah.
Now you'd think that would make things easier, wouldn't you?
In theory, yes.
We'll see you in February for that.
Really, really bad habits.
Oh, now I have to catch up.
Tell me after this call.
Yep. Oh, I will.
Thank you.
It's killing me.
Bree, I feel so attacked. Wait, Jason, how did you ruin Flight? I didn't ruin anything.
Jason, that's a valid question.
I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to say dragons?
Oh, no. No.
Okay.
That would be too easy. That would be too predictable.
Yeah, no.
Okay. See, I don't know anything, so that was not a spoiler.
What's
chat.
the last thing you'd expect?
Earth?
Just keep it up here. Wait till February. The last thing you'd expect to happen.
Or after this call, because I'm not going to wait.
You agree to a
While-
second book,
while
and I'll
flying?
tell you. It'll be. So, Karen, you're muted.
I don't understand how the group keeps letting me do things. Because, like,
Because you
At
seemed
this
really
point, like-
confident.
at this point, like, yeah, and I was very confident when I got 2 of our party members killed by a fucking dragon.
That's, you know what? That's true.
Just don't
Yeah.
ever let me do anything ever.
They're okay. It all ends up well in the end. You're fine.
Yep.
Fine.
They're doing fantastic. So, let's talk about Patreon for just a minute. Everybody out there who is subscribed to our Patreon, thank you so much for supporting the show and allowing us to do what we do for you guys each and every month. Now, we reworked everything, top to bottom. Bree was kind enough to make logos for everything. We're doing new themes. We're doing, like, everything's getting a top to bottom makeover. Part of that is a few things. One, we added 2 new games to our Epic tier. Stars Without Number. Rob, Susan, tell them a little bit about the session we recorded, because it isn't up yet. It's going to go up beginning of February. How would you
Susan,
describe...
Do you want to, or do you want me to? Or I
Go
don't
ahead. Sell them.
know. Do I?
So,
I'm debating how much to pitch. Right? Like, do I pitch
Well-
the premise?
well, okay. So Rob likes talkie characters, and then mine was opposite.
Almost a little goth? Not goth, but like a little like
Raven?
very low key. Yeah, very, it's like, whatever, I don't care. Like just kind of not Susan.
I don't need many words. That was it.
We have quite a collection of misfits. I am playing a psychic healer who is way too sensitive about pain being caused to others, and is probably going to complicate the mission by trying to not hurt people, because sometimes you have to hurt people in space. Ian is playing Daft Punk Chewbacca.
It's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Bree is, I picture Bree's character played by, what is that actress's name from NCIS, the goth girl?
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah, with the black hair. Yeah.
Parker, it's Polly something, Polly
Polly
I
Pocket.
can't- No, but it's definitely not that.
Okay.
And yeah, she's like a goth hacker girl. And Susan is playing a socially awkward mechanic.
Pilot of many of
Pilot
very
and-
little words.
Yeah. And I guess let me give you the general pitch rather, and just like try not to expand too much into the actual content of the episode. we are using kind of a lot of the stock history of Stars Without Number. So there was a scream, the big psychic phenomena that knocked out all the warp gates and basically isolated all the worlds and space stations from one another. And of course, many of them were dependent on other ones and collapsed, and some of them are still functioning. We're on a space station so big that it so old that since our characters have been born, there are places on this space station we've never been to, like sections that were shut down a long time ago to preserve power and things like that, or it's a space station that's so big that parts of it can be forgotten.
And I have one really good spoiler.
Okay.
Penguins.
Yes.
That's it. I'm not going to go into any more details.
So we are living on this space station, and is literally all that we've ever known. We have never been on the surface of the planet. My gosh, that's going to be traumatizing, being on a planet, right? You guys. If that happens,
different
someday.
Gravity and temperatures,
and sky.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So through the course of the session, perhaps we go searching for opportunities to not be on this space station for the rest of our lives. There's not a ton of session because a lot of it was like Jason, like the unfortunate part was like, we were like, Jason was like, all right, do whatever you want for your characters. And so we all just like came up with backstories, then we brought them to the table, and Jason was like, okay, here's the world backstory. And we were like, every single one of us needs to change. So
yeah, I didn't think that would be so hindering.
Yeah. So we took it. We spent half of this episode in the workshop, like retooling our backgrounds to fit the pitch. But then we get going, and I'm looking forward to the actual like thrust of this campaign, and playing Stars Without Number. I'm so psyched to see more of this system from the player side.
I was very proud of you guys for adjusting, because it was like that session is interesting in that it was half improv class. Half RPG session. And I don't think we've ever done that, where we just kind of like merge the two. It's like, well, it's not long enough to just be its own thing session wise. And I'm afraid people won't get the gist of these characters as much without that part. So let's just smush it together.
Yeah. And so it'll be neat for you guys to, I think, hear us, talking through the process, right? Like, that'll be a fun little behind-the-scenes widget, and then you'll know who we are, and we will go forward and hopefully have mighty fun space adventures. Jason, can I pick your brain about the behind-the-scenes a little bit? You let me know if I ask too much.
Sure, go.
Are you planning on generating any significant portion of our content based on like the world generation tables in the book? Are you like kind of semi-randomizing what we're running into in that fashion? I
like randomizing things, but I do want to utilize the book as much as possible, just because, unlike D&D, like this isn't our world. I want to just show up and like how we've been playing Vampire, where it's like, okay, well, if you went and bought this book off the shelf right now, what could you be in for? What are you expecting? And I really like the book and everything in it. So I'm interested in exploring all of that. Like, I
want to see what weird planets we mash up when you generate them.
I'm really interested in you guys getting to your first planet and stuff. We also have the Mutants and Masterminds campaign we were talking about, Wardens, which is myself, Zach, Jameson, Alex, Ashley, and us just fumbling around trying to figure out how to play Mutants and Masterminds, which isn't our first episode, but it's definitely our character creation-y episode and us doing lots of math. So if you're into that kind of thing, I highly suggest you listen to it. If you're not, jump in about an hour and a half in, because you will hear the most frustrated group of people you've ever heard. I just openly start yelling at one point, and I don't usually do that. But there was a table that just made no sense, and it did, like, we were banging there's literally a part in the book. I don't want to belabor the point, but there's literally a power in the book where it's like, oh, you have this and this, these two powers. Turn to page 114 to look at this power. And it's like, okay, power 114. Turn to page 314 because it's actually called this power. And it's like, You had to write that. You made me. Is this a prank? Are you fucking with me? And we're 2 hours in. I just had enough. So
I can tell you why that particular thing happened. It's because with 2 editions of Mutants and Masterminds behind them, they wanted to have the terms that they used in 1st and 2nd edition searchable for you to find whatever it became in 3rd edition.
Right. Okay.
So that's why that happened.
I really think you guys are going to like that. We also recorded something for people who are into combat. There's something called Completely Unbalanced, which I'm editing now. Each month, what we're going to do is I'd like to get 4 cast members. 4 each month. And we're going to sit down and it's like, okay, this month, everyone roll a level 5 character. And you guys mix and match and mash up whatever you want. And then we sit down and we spin a wheel. On the wheel is everything from 1/8 challenge level monsters to a Tarrasque. Now, we don't know what's going to come up, and we don't know how many of those things are going to come up, but there's formulas for everything. This month, we sat down with level 20 endurance. I'm not going to tell you what they fought, but it was interesting.
It was so stupid.
It was absolutely stupid. And I thought it was really fun. I was a little worried about that. It was really fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I found out the class I made wasn't completely broken. So that's fun, because we only got a few more weeks to write. So... does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up before we get ready and go? Listeners at home, do you have anything you'd like us to talk about or bring up? Any questions, comments, concerns before we get out of here for the night?
Yeah, I was going to say we do an audience questions section, right? They should get something for showing up, Jason.
That's true. Make us answer for ourselves. What do you?
Yeah. We do so much shit.
Make us justify this thing we do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no. Where do we get off? What's your favorite color, Susan?
Orange.
Just Susan, I guess. Ashley, that's fine.
Weird.
That's...
Yeah, thanks. Orange.
It's blue. It's blue if you care, Ashley. It's fine.
I used to like a more bluish purple, but now I like a more like red grape purple. It's good stuff.
Now I want some cranapple grape. Some cran grape.
See, I like burnt orange, like that bordering on brown, like that fall color, that very typical fall color.
I like that. That's
yeah.
All right, colors ranked. Go.
Green in it, in case anybody cared.
We're gonna put this rainbow in the right order.
Oh, we'll do a tier list. That's the Spiderhawk. What is the epic game of the month that is being released in the lower tiers this month? Oh, so something I failed to mention. We're doing a lot of epic games and stuff, and that's in the $15 tier. Obviously, not everyone can afford that. So we're also taking an older game and popping it in our $1 tier each month. And we're starting fresh with Vampire the Masquerade. I believe the first episode of that and the behind the scenes for it went in our $1 tier, I think. Asprey in the chat. She did it. So.
D Sheeks asks, what would Ubo have done early in Arc 2 if the orcs had offered him the opportunity to return and live with them? He would not have felt comfortable with it, right? Because like he was like looking for belonging, but if they just like were like out of the blue, like, hey, you did one cool thing, you're good now. It would have been like, you have a history of treating me like a misfit. No, right? Like
yeah,
he has
Orag wouldn't have been nice to you.
Yeah, he's been the half orc living among orcs all his life and being the misfit. So that wouldn't. Like, he needed to get out and, like, see the rest of the world. And you know, in an alternate universe, maybe that goes better and Ubo has a reconnection with his orcish roots, but that's not the story we ended up playing.
Mm-mm.
Rob, you said a thing earlier.
Yeah.
You said that Ubo was bitten by a random NPC.
I said that because there was stuff that I was not sure if had been revealed.
That's good. Listeners at home, would it make you feel better to know that it wasn't an unnamed NPC? It was an important NPC that bit Ubo. That's all I'm going to say. That's it. That's all I got.
Wow. Wow.
What is the attitude in orc culture to what Ubo did? Yeah, actually, I'd have to expand on that because I don't fully understand.
What do you mean? The killing himself instead of being a vampire?
I mean, they're probably cool with that. They don't want vampire orcs running around.
No,
Orcs.
and I mean, they've done that before. It worked out poorly. I don't.
Yeah.
think
Okay. So she's talking about him dying.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be against that. There's honor in it, at least. Like, there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I imagine it is looked upon poorly by the orcs to become a creature of the night, cursed to drink blood, etc. So yeah, but I mean, obviously Jason confirmed it, but yeah, that was always kind of my read of the orcs, and so that was certainly an orcish cultural thing, in addition to being a druid thing that was like impressed upon Ubo. Ooh, there's a Karen question.
Yeah, Karen, any chance you can divert Group B south to see what's happening in Odyssia?
No.
This was that flying thing we don't know about.
Yeah, there's an episode where a lot of things are like put into motion, and that's not an option.
Okay.
I mean, it could be possibly like maybe we'd just say fuck whatever we did. Let's go to Odyssia. Who cares about the Black Hand?
So
that would be nice.
I have a question. In the last episode, it was very much Black Hand driven. Are you still on course to go to Black Tip Forest? Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to.
I almost totally spoiled something earlier, and you like totally stopped me. So like, yes.
Okay.
Okay, me and Susan were talking earlier today, and we reached a part of the book that was interesting. Because we have to do a write-up for everything. And since there's 270 characters in the book, and a certain someone's on the cover, we kind of had to cover the Black Hand and her background. Now, how do we do that? We didn't want it just in the book, so you guys pick up the book, and it's like, oh, it's right there. Because it kind of deserves some kind of spoiler tag. So we can't just redact the whole thing. That'd be kind of a dick move, though that was my first thought.
That'd be hilarious.
My first thought was that, and it's like, oh, but come on, that's really funny, guys. But I don't think the people paying $60 for this book are going to think it's too funny later on down the line. So, what we decided to do was print her backstory in Demon. There's a demon language, there's a key code and everything that you can look up in the book and decipher the whole thing yourself if you want. But that's on you. Now, the problem is, we got Val and we got Jameson working on the book. They can't see this backstory. So I sent it to just Bree and just Susan. So they are the only two people beyond me.
Don't throw me under the bus, Jason. I know nothing.
They're the only two people beyond me who know what she's about, what's going on.
We're going to talk after this, right, Susan?
I don't know anything. But please tell me what happened in the episode that wasn't released.
I think it's time for us to wrap things up for the night. Thank you guys for joining me as part of the panel. It's nice to have that. It's nice to have that Group A representation, and thank you, Karen, for
You're welcome.
for just putting all of Group B on your back and hiking up the mountain.
Yep.
I mean, we know you didn't fly; you hiked, but
Yep.
I can't wait for this episode to drop.
Oh, it's so... A lot of things dropped. So there's...
Was there like a fight or flight thing that happened? And...
This could be two things.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. We will see you next month to talk about the next grouping of episodes in February. All of you guys, thank you much. Thank you so much for supporting us and for listening to us. If you haven't, maybe swing on by the old iTunes and give us a review. Did you guys know that we're almost at 1,000 reviews?
What?
Wow.
1,000.
Have I reviewed? Let me check.
So if you
all our
haven't,
family and friends, right?
yeah, that's what it, yeah, just extended family.
I real quick, Jason, I just loved the random crotchety prospector you became when you were talking about iTunes. Like, head on over to the iTunes.
iTunes.
Let's close up some of them reviews.
I'm a little concerned at how often I just slip into a dumb voice. Like, I do it around the house a lot, and it may be some mental disorder. I don't know, some undiagnosed thing.
I have been practicing the voice for this new character in the car, and I'm like, man, if the FBI has bugged my car, they're gonna get a slice of something.
What are you going for? Are you taking? So okay, we've only had we've had a few Dragonborn on the show, but we've had Jake, who just decided to be Jake, but on cocaine, and we've had
Still Jake on cocaine.
It's still Jake. It's still. And we've had Jamie, who went in a wildly different direction.
Yeah, she has to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes before she plays cop.
Yeah. Which way were you leaning? Is it more grizzled? Is it more authoritative? Is it?
So, it is about 30% of my stock Russian accent, but with none of the dropping strange words in the middle or things like that. It sounds a little something like this, and it is very forceful. And I am going to enjoy flogging you.
I love the laugh
I
afterwards.
love it.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, you have misbehaved, and I am a paladin.
No.
Now we're getting into weird territory, Rob. Now we're getting that. That sounds like you're going to give the group a spanking. But before that,
Careful who you say that to.
that's. Oh, Donovan, you've been a naughty boy.
So it may not be. It may even be a little less than that. Like I don't want to turn the Dragonborns into like into stock Russians. So I'm like dialing back, and I'm not doing any of the like hodgepodge. I don't have English mastery stuff, but I am. I kind of want that. I kind of want that feel,
Dude. I'm not of the opinion that okay, Jake not doing an accent doesn't reflect poorly in the Dragonborn. I look at it as just like everyone's an individual.
Yeah, people have different comfort zones too.
Totally. So you go nuts. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you want to go full Yakov Smirnoff, you do it.
No, I don't though. I don't. Right? Like I don't like the idea of like turning D&D races into stand-ins for other cultures. And if you lay an accent on too thick, I think you can do that. But
I think I walk a fine line with the lion folk. Like it's like, do I have a right to even tiptoe on that? Like it's almost African. Do I? It's very like I love. Oh my god, the guy's name in Lord of War, the guy who plays the dictator. Like that fucking accent's so badass, and I wish I had any right to attempt that. I wish, but I don't.
Accents are they're tricky. And so I'm trying to find this me having like a stock Russian accent comes from me like jokingly modifying my son's children's books to be like what if this children's book were in fact about like rewritten as propaganda for a communist regime, and so I read them to him in Russian voices and like change the stories make them about loyalty to the regime and things like that. So I'm drawing upon that, but I am good night good dog Carl is good night comrade Carl.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so Natasha, my wife is in the chat, and she has heard me do this. But it's just a dumb thing I do to entertain myself, because after like the 12th time you've read these children's stories, you need something for you in there. So I'm drawing upon that, and then I'm like tamping it down to about 30% of max power, and then I'm also going to make him eloquent, and I'm going to be working on my bank of cutting insults. Because like he's so I guess another little thing about him, his career prior to adventuring is being like a jailer or like a warden in a prison, and he keeps control, like he's like, well, like, okay, if these, if I'm like dealing with prisoners who've never met me, I'm going to pick out the weakest looking one and I'm going to break his face, and then you're all going to know what's going to happen to you if you misbehave. He's that kind of guy, right? Like he's definitely like a brute, like rule with brute force, rule with utter brutality, so that people are too afraid to step out of line.
It's very Dragonborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a good fit for their culture too, and he was almost a jailer in Name of Dragonborn City is
Orash.
Thank you. He was almost a jailer there, but then we repositioned him as having done that stint as a jailer in Brightport. So he's
plenty of jails in Brightport. That's
and that's going to make him more cosmopolitan. He's not, because that actually ended up really good, because I was worried he was going to be. One thing that made Ubo challenging was that he was in a lot of ways a very much a fish out of water kind of character. That he was like, orc, isolation, orkiness, and then okay, let's go. Whereas this guy is going to have, yes, I grew up in Dragonborn culture. Okay, I got posted in this more cosmopolitan place, and now I have a lot to draw on. I'm very savvy. So he's a paladin in the sense of his training, and then working as a jailer, he adopted the rogue levels as he watched the prisoners and learned to turn their own tricks against them. So, the end.
I just got an idea, but that's for another time. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in and watching us live. Thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. We'll be back next month with a brand new bunch of people talking about a brand new bunch of episodes. Thank you all, and good night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Hey everyone, it's me, Ashley again. I hope you had a fantastic week and really enjoyed listening to this week's episode. I know once I hear it, I'm probably gonna lose my mind because I love this show so much. But if you want even more awesome DNR content, you should head over to patreon.com/DNR and check out our new show that's coming out soon, Completely Unbalanced. Basically, what Completely Unbalanced is just an arena-style combat with different characters. So, this week, for our first session, we're testing out all level 20 characters, including the Endurance class, which is the DNR's version of Scions. And it's going to be so exciting because they have so many different powers, and this is going to be our very last time to see them before the mechanics go to print in the book. So please head over to patreon.com/DNR to check that out, and I will see you next week.